longer look like a homeless M&M. Today's episode of the Talkcast Podshow is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is a marvelous website full of creatives looking to help you improve your hobbies and maybe turn those hobbies into a job. And take it from the guy who turned his hobbies into a job. His full-time job. Seriously though, in these uncertain times, it's pretty easy to recommend Skillshare. They've got classes on photography, videography, script writing, editing, thousands of classes from people who want to teach. Hell, I know at least 3 other people in the office who use this service and they've had no complaints. So, if you want to try it out, the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description get their first 2 months free. Now, if you don't mind, I have to go get groceries. This is too small for my face.
Hello and welcome to the Talkcast Podshow, the #1 show on the internet, and that tiny little itch you've been ignoring beneath your left eye. Yeah, that one right there. Ah, that's better. I'm your host, Lanny, and I'm joined this week by Kaiser, and we are going to be answering some of your burning questions. How you doing today, Kaiser?
Don't touch your face.
I washed my hands yesterday.
Gross.
I know, right? Felt weird. Getting rid of all that dead skin. It's my skin!
Yeah. Now I'm just imagining you peeling it off like a fucking snake.
Dude, how long has it been since you've cleaned your keyboard?
Actually, 2 weeks?
Because I've got cats.
Oh, no.
And
oh, no.
Yeah. I ran a Q-tip between the keys the other day. I think I pulled out a third cat. It's like there's just so much hair in there. And I took off the wrist guard because I didn't know this, but it's supposed to be like pure black. It was not. It was gray, and I washed it, and now I'm a little grossed out by how often I've just been touching like the zombie flesh of my hands previously.
Oh man, I wash a lot of my stuff pretty often, like my mouse and my keyboard, because it's like a breeding ground for just gross shit.
You ever take your Xbox 360 controllers or like whatever controllers has that little seam on the side and just dig your thumbnail into it and scrape out all the gunk in between?
No, I use a toothpick. Oh my god.
I mean, to each their own.
Oh my god. Okay, well, now that we've alienated all of our audience, let's...
Oh, God, not all of them. There's got to be a few gross motherfuckers like me out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I washed my hands yesterday. We're good. We're good.
Nothing's good anymore.
I mean, that's debatable. That's
By the way, guys, I hope you enjoy the background. I'm probably going to use this for the actual YouTube version. No reason not to.
Yeah, you've been building these. You had a lot of fun with the one last week, and now we got this. It's all movie and not nausea-making for those watching the YouTube version. Or the stream version, for that matter. Good stuff. It is... Like I like the little lines you got going in the back there. Those listening on the podcast, this means absolutely nothing to you. But there is a YouTube upload in case you want to check that out as well. This is available on all sorts of platforms. By the way, if you're on YouTube, feel free to like the video, etc. I love you guys.
Please like, anyway. Favorite, subscribe. We need it.
Is favoriting a thing anymore?
Actually, no. Liking is favoriting.
I think liking or like favoriting, the closest you can get to favoriting is there's that little share button and you can or like add it to one of your own playlists or some shit. I don't know. Favoriting used to be a thing. I think all favoriting did though was just add it to a playlist back then.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, these are your favorite videos. You can share them with your friends and stuff like that. Back when YouTube had a soul. If it ever did. I don't know. Time is weird.
I just remember when we used to love Google. I remember when, like, Google was cool. And then Google stopped being cool.
I still don't hate Google. I mean, of all the big evil tech companies, it's the one I invest in. Because it's the one I use the most products of. Like, Google knows everything about me right now. There is not a device in my home that Google is not gathering some form of information from me on.
Google owns all of us.
They literally sent me a Google Home device, like one of those little pucks that you can talk to.
No.
Yeah, they sent me one. Like, I already previously owned one because I like just being able to throw music onto it whenever I want to, or asking it, like, stupid, benign questions.
Oh, no.
But they're literally sending me wiretaps. It's slightly unnerving. I mean, Big Brother is always listening or watching. But
oh, you want to know something cool?
Huh.
I booked, and I can't say who for what, but I booked my first role for something, for an actual company, like full-on professional. I booked my first role that I'm going to be recording, for, like, basically by satellite.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had a couple, I think like 2 sessions so far like that.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know, like, I never know, like, when to talk about that stuff, especially some of the things that I'm never apprised of, like, when things come out for it. Like, specifically, like, Smite or Paladin skins. It's like, they never, like, I'm never on the note of when that comes out, so I never know when to talk about it.
Oh, listen to this motherfucker over here. He's in Paladins. Good for you piece of shit.
Are you not?
I'm not.
Oh.
I'm in
Smite, though, right?
I'm like 8 characters in Smite. Skins. I'm 8 skins in Smite. I'm like so many, and oh my god, like a majority of them have accents, and I was never an accent guy, but they keep getting me in for accents. I've done North African, I've done Jamaican, I've done I'm not Irish, Scottish. I've done like Cockney, British.
Apparently, my Rama laugh became like a meme within the Smite community.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I learned that when I went back in to record for a skin for them. They're like, they love to laugh. So just do that again. I'm like, can you play it back for me? I mean, this was like a year ago, man. I can emulate it, but I don't know what I did.
Apparently, there's a character in Final Fantasy VII Remake in the slums. I think Sector 7. Everyone keeps asking me. Yeah, everyone keeps saying, "Hey, was that you in Final Fantasy VII Remake?" And I'm like, I've never ever gotten that chance.
They asked me when I was playing through it. I'm like, no, it's definitely not him, because if it was, he would have been shouting that from the fucking rooftops.
Oh yeah, no, I would have told every fucking buddy. Like, that wouldn't have been the moment that game dropped. I would have been like, I'm in Final Fantasy VII.
Listen to me, you can find me here.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're curious about the Jamaican accent, they basically asked me to come in and do what's his name from
Sebastian,
because he was for a lobster. And so I did it, and it was alright. I'm not a huge fan of my Jamaican accent, but it's not the worst. Mostly because I took some lessons from Antfish. Anthony Sardina.
I did my Jamaican accent for Antfish. I won't hurt anybody here with it. He just cringed and shriveled, and I think died a little. But he came back later, because that man's just a powerhouse. Oh, man. He's... speaking of Antfish, one of the questions that I had pulled up here,
boom,
from Rune the 1412, was, if the TFS members got stuck in a zombie apocalypse scenario, who do you think would last the longest, and what roles would you delegate? My answer to that is Antfish. I believe Antfish would last the longest because he is very self-sufficient, very driven, and he is one mountain man beard away from just he already looks like he could be a post-apocalyptic survivor. So he's got all that down.
Oh, right? Yeah. Man, it has been interesting knowing Ant, because he started out like just a kind of chubby regular dude who, you know, smoked a lot of pot and had dreads. And then in a couple of years, next thing you know, he looks like that.
Boy's jacked. Boy is ripped.
Yeah. Jacked as hell, and he eats like a fucking garbage disposal. Every time we ever go out to eat, I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of food, and he stays that skinny because he works
packs
out
away that protein. Gotta get them calories so the gains stay.
Ah, right, man. You know what? For a while, when I was younger, I worked out really hard just so I could eat awful.
Which never really works.
Yeah.
Because you can never outwork a bad diet.
Although, you know what? I will say cheat days are great just for that. And cheat days are actually good for you. They're a good thing to do if you're working out very often. So,
yeah. I mean, it's something that you kind of need every now and again just for yourself, and not feeding a body's craving will just make you relapse super hard.
Also, I would die. in a zombie apocalypse. I'm not gonna try and act like I have some really, really necessary or helpful skill. I would fucking die, and I'm willing to accept that.
So you would be the you would be the bait in a scenario.
I mean, the only thing I have going for me is that I have great aim. Like, so if this is a scenario where I need to keep guard and or shoot something, I'm pretty good at that. I didn't know I had really good aim until I went shooting with a bunch of people, and they're like, how did you learn to aim so good? And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
If zombie media has taught me anything, the most dangerous thing is not the zombies, but other humans. So I would try to be some form of negotiator.
Aha.
I would try to, make sure there are peace between tribes, maybe try to, unify some stuff. Not necessarily a leader, but somebody that makes sure that nobody's, murdering everybody.
Well, good luck, Roger Smith.
Do my best. Do my damnedest. But who do you think would last the longest? You agree, Antfish, or would you deign to enter somebody else into that equation for another reason?
Yeah, I gotta go Ant. It's kind of hard to argue. He's got everything necessary.
Yeah, he would find a way, is what I would say about Ant.
Ant finds a way.
He does. Got another question here from Saunders. This one I really enjoyed, and I think could lead to some pretty fun conversation. What villains in fiction do you think have done evil for evil's sake right? I don't mean like force of nature evil like the shark from Jaws. I mean functional humans who should know better, but just enjoy being a dick.
Oh, fucking Dio. There's a reason that he is so popular. He is charismatic. He is gorgeous. He is incredibly violent. I think he pulls it off real good.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's high tier for me.
Because there's one comic I can point to, and I know in canon there are more reasons for his behaviors, but there's this amazing comic, I think from one of the annuals, that's just Thanos tormenting this one boy, David, every year on his birthday.
What?
And it's just the pettiest of cruelties. Oh, it's a great comic. Just Google Thanos and David. Or, I mean, if you're afraid of Google, use another... good luck. Use another search program. But it starts off with him just, showing up at the bedside of this, the crib side of this baby, and just taking taking his blanket off of him. This is the first of many happy birthdays, David. Shows up when he's 5 years old. Little David doesn't want to have birthdays anymore because the monster keeps showing up on his birthday. He completely destroys the family car and kills his dad.
Oh my god.
The car just drops from the sky.
Why?
Because Thanos is just being cruel. Evil for evil's sake. When he's 16-year-old, David's awoken by his cell phone from a text from his girlfriend. Thanos is sitting by his bedside, and he just, rips the phone out of his hands. David's all this time just questioning, why do you keep doing this? Nobody believes me. They never see you. He's, quiet, texting on the phone. He sends a reply text to his girlfriend. He's like, you'll never be able to walk that comment back. You're a really bad boyfriend. Tosses the phone back to David. Gets broken up with. 21 years old. He's having a house party. Thanos poisons all of his guests. 25 years old. Thanos burns down his grad school. I think my favorite panel in the entire comic is just, it's a pretty infamous panel. There's this shot of Thanos peeking over a cubicle as a 27-year-old David is walking out of his boss's office. Thanos is just saying, happy birthday, David. David's like, what, you got me fired? Thanos just says, nope, bad luck, David. Then, Thanos, your cat is dead. It just continues on like that. And finally, a broke David left with nothing at 45 years of age. Thanos walks in, and David's just like, Thanos, you're here. He's like, yep, looks like you don't have much left. He's just in this shitty rat hole of an apartment. And David's like, yeah, I bet you're wondering why I'm still here, why I'm still alive, why I stick around, why I haven't just killed myself. He goes off on this diatribe. Well, I'm going to tell you, I wake up every single day, Thanos slams his fist into the ceiling, pulls down a water pipe, and this apartment just starts flooding. Thanos walks away saying, nope, don't care, see you next year.
Oh my
That is
God.
my favorite case for evil's sake, because it's just the pettiest of evils. Just being a dick to this one guy for literally no reason.
Wow. I have no words. That doesn't sound like a real comic.
It, in fact, is. Google it. Thanos and David. It's basically a joke gag comic, but it's one of my favorites. One of my favorite Thanos stories.
All
just
right.
because, I don't know, that level of, like, just being cruel to one character for the sake of humor, like, in a fictional sense, is funny to me.
Well, I'll have to give it a look.
Definitely do. It is up there for me.
Oh, I
But
guess I
you're-
should also... Oh, go ahead.
Oh. No, you were about to actually lead into something there.
Well, all I was gonna say is, like, the other one of my personal favorite, evil for evil's sake villains is still Frieza. But that's just, it's just so classic. He's just such a classic bastard.
Yeah. He's kind of like, basically just, he's the King Piccolo trope, but done to that extra degree. Like, he's that much more in control and that much more evil.
He's also got
he's
a way better personality, if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, and he bounces off of the protagonist a lot better due to it. Like, the Piccolo Goku dynamic was like, look, I'm small hero boy, I'm gonna stop you. Yeah, well, I'm evil, so fuck off. Whereas Frieza's this over-bloated, overconfident space emperor with a whole legion of intergalactic soldiers at his command. And Goku is the last surviving member of a race that was once killed by him. It's that extra level that kind of like just elevates Frieza. That and Piccolo, eventually like comes around, and I mean, I'm never gonna down talk Piccolo and Piccolo Jr., but Frieza's definitely a better villain.
I mean, Piccolo Jr. for his short time as a villain was actually pretty spectacular. I can't shit talk the boy. He fucking nailed it.
How do you think he learned how to reverse the evil containment wave?
He does, I believe, have his father's memories, so I guess he'd seen it enough to be able to be like, I know what to do now.
Just done it. Just been through it like 3 times. It's like, well, shit. Okay, you know what? I know how this feels. How do you fucking like it?
I hate to say it, but Toriyama and his grasp on how quote-unquote techniques work has always been tenuous. And, yeah, Piccolo just learning how to reverse it. I'm not surprised. That's just Toriyama.
What is it to you that elevates Dio as an evil for evil's sake character above Frieza?
You know what? One of my favorite things about him is that he is so charismatic. He is so attractive. He has this, I believe Avdol says, dubious sensuality about him. I really dig on a character who's just... People see him and fall in love with him and want to serve him. Like, that, there's something interesting about that character, about this beautiful immortal who's just lived for so long that people become entranced by him. But he is like the absolute worst. He uses people.
That's kind of playing with the Dracula dynamic, I think, basically.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, he does tend to like use people. Which Dio specifically? Are we talking Stardust Crusaders or just JoJo Part 1 Dio?
I'll be honest, it's definitely the latter. Dio in Part 1 is good, but everyone remembers, Dio from Stardust Crusaders more than they remember Dio from fucking...
He's also significantly more jacked thanks to Jonathan's dead body.
Yeah. Also, if I'm gonna be honest, so Dio in the first one he's a good villain, but then you have Cars, you have the Pillar Man in the second one, and you could tell that Cars was desperately trying to be... I feel like Cars is like the proto Dio.
Yeah, I don't remember Part 2 very well. Like, I watched on Crunchyroll, they have those summation, like, hour-and-a-half long plot dumps, basically, that I watched, because I couldn't watch through it, like, episode per episode. Then again, like, I don't think I could watch through Stardust Crusaders episode per episode either. That is a unnecessarily long part. Even though I think it still might be my favorite.
Stardust Crusaders is way too long. Like when they get to Egypt and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're gonna have to fight all these guys now," and it's like we just fought so many guys.
After already doing a globe trekking journey, now it's okay. You just fought all the guys based on tarot cards. Now fight the Egyptian gods, Yugi.
Yeah, it's like a whole fucking pantheon, and it's like, guys, no, we just went through this. I mean, like, look, I love Pet Shop. The Anubis stand is actually really cool. Like, there's a lot of neat stuff in Egypt, but there's also just, it's so much. It's too much.
It kind of is that, and while there are definitely some standout moments, the Gambling Brothers being one of them, almost every single time Jojo in that is doing something, it ends the same way. It's just like, nope, I'm too fucking good for you. Fuck off.
Oh yeah, Jotaro.
Star Platinum's just Jotaro like Star Platinum's just too strong. Fuck you.
Yeah, Jotaro uses Jotaro thinks his way out of a lot of problems, but they all require him still punching and breaking something to do it. Which
I think is part of the charm there, and one of the reasons I do really like him as the protagonist.
Well, and that's sort of why it's funny that Araki was like, okay, so I've introduced all these powers that all of the characters can use, and the main character gets punching very hard.
Oh, okay. Eventually stopping time.
I mean, eventually, which oh man, I'm kind of mad. Araki had the perfect opportunity to actually link why the fuck he has the power to stop time, and he didn't use that, and I'm kind of mad.
Well, because the bloodline?
Yeah. You'd think that, Dio's stand is actually Jonathan's stand, which can stop time. But as it turns out, apparently, if Jonathan had a stand, it would have just been the thorns like fucking Joseph, which, again...
That makes even less sense, because that would mean that Dio somewhere along the line had some sort of bloodline that still might have linked to Jotaro? I don't know.
It's a thing. I personally, I think that Jonathan should have had time stop powers, and that would have worked.
Would have made some sense. I mean, I'm glad they like kind of hint at it throughout the series, where it's like, wow, that's the fastest stand I've ever seen. I wonder how it's so fast. It's crazy fast.
Yeah.
It's like, it turns out it's just manipulating time a little bit, but not very good, because it's a little baby stand, because he doesn't really understand it yet.
But then part 4 happens, and part 4 is my favorite.
I tried watching part 4 3 times. It took me until my third try to actually get through it. I don't know why. I think it's like I got burned out on the Monster of the Week dynamic of part 3, and then when they started doing it again in part 4, it was like, oh man, it's just this again. I agree. I think the characters are more interesting. The story is the fact that the story is a little bit more downplayed and subdued. That it doesn't involve the entire world, but just this one city.
Yeah,
is kind of
nice.
Town. But it's, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that the stakes got way lower. I liked Kira. I like Kira, but it took a long time for him to get introduced in that series too.
Oh yeah, no, Kira doesn't come around for so long that by the time he does, it's like, okay, so we finally got our main villain after how many episodes? Okay.
All right, I guess we're going. Oh, that guy's his dad. Neat. All right.
If I'm gonna be honest with you, when it came to stakes, that's the one part that like part 5 always felt really weird about.
Yeah, I still haven't watched through part 5. I started on it when it was going week to week, and I realized very quickly I cannot watch JoJo week to week.
Oh,
I cannot.
I can see that. I remember actually, I think it was part 4. I was watching part 4 up until the very last fight, and I got so angry when it stopped in the middle of the this big sequence. I grabbed the fucking manga and I read it because I was like, nope, I need to finish this. I am not going to wait another week for this. I refuse.
That's actually an interesting question pacing wise. How many shows have done that to you where you've like just started watching them and then it just stops somewhere and it's like, oh, shit, I want to know what happens. I'm going to go read the manga. How many are you the kind of person that will do that a lot? Because it is seldom that a show will actually have me do that where I care that much about it that I need to continue it by going and looking up the manga.
Let's see. I I definitely did that for My Hero Academia, but I don't really mind so much on that one. And also, I'm very, very glad that I did, because that one's this week-to-week big show, and God, I hate having to deal with that. Like, having to deal with trying to hide from spoilers, people talking about it. I'm like, God damn it, no. I'm just gonna read the manga, and then I don't have to worry about people possibly ruining things for me. And also, if I'm going to be completely frankly honest with you, sometimes the manga is just better.
Really?
Like, for My Hero?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I personally felt like the whole Mirio fight was way better done in the manga, where in the anime it just kind of...
Well, I mean, it turned into a slideshow at the end.
Yeah, which is like, hey, so this is an animation. Use the animation. Use the art, the medium to its fullest extent, and then it didn't, and that felt really disappointing, because then immediately after that, Deku gets his big damn hero moment, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. But actually, to be honest, like, would you rather they have split the budget there? I say budget meaning time and money. Would you rather they have split the budget there and made both of them make Midio's fight slightly better, but Midoriya's slightly worse?
I mean, I would have preferred that they not had a movie being made during that time, splitting the staff.
Yeah, but let's pretend that that's a big decision that is out of your hands.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would... That final fight, well, okay, the quote-unquote final fight between Deku and Overhaul is... Holy shit! And I wouldn't want to take away from that.
The fucking, like, the soundtrack piece they put in that after the commercial break, I've gone back and watched it like 3 times, still brings me to tears.
So they did the same thing in the movie.
They did, and it wasn't as good.
It wasn't as good. Like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't anywhere close. In fact, it was really cool. But I was watching it, and I'm like, oh, okay. I just watched this happen in the manga. I watched this happen in the anime, and now it's happening in the movie, almost beat for beat in terms of like how they use the music and the sound effects. I mean, to that extent, the fight is better animated in the movie. Yeah. But
I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's a good song, and like it's a nice driving emotional piece. I could see why they did it. But the fact that it was happening like literally back to back almost is the crux of it. It's just like, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can't think of like in My Hero is like an evil for evil's sake character, except for would you consider All for One evil for evil's sake?
He is absolutely evil.
Mm-hmm.
For evil's sake is tough with him, but I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that he fits into evil for evil's sake.
He's just kind of an asshole that's like fucking shit up for his own selfish reasons, which I guess is enough to be evil for evil's sake, because he knows what he's doing is bad. He calls himself a villain.
Well, and so that's sort of the interesting thing, is that villains in this universe range between people who recognize that they are going against society and what heroes stand for, even though they believe that they're in the right.
Well, that would be Gentle.
Yeah,
Gentle is somebody who claims himself a villain, but doesn't necessarily see himself as the bad guy.
But then you also have Stain. And Stain
sees himself a villain and thinks he's the bad guy, but he's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. He thinks he's doing good for society as a whole by killing these heroes. He's not and he's obviously his sense of morality is warped, but that's why it's so interesting. That's why Stain worked the way that it did.
Yeah.
Also, Stain's entire character design is based off of like 90s Image Edge comics, like from Todd McFarlane and artists like that.
I mean, you can see that sort of Spawn meets Raphael design. Like he almost looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles villain. Like if Casey Jones went bad.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Casey Jones, like, got hit by the mutagen and suddenly just, turned into that. Yeah, I could see it.
He looks like an Ed Hardy tattoo.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just that face. I don't know. My Hero's great. I could go on and on about My Hero.
I know, right?
Speaking of which, Eric Gibson asks, who's your favorite My Hero Academia character, and who do you think has been underutilized? For them, it's Kaminari for both. Kaminari, sorry.
Kaminari. That's actually, that's a tough question. And I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. I really like Bakugo. I think
There's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead.
You say there's nothing wrong with that, but if you say...
I firmly believe it.
Yeah, when you tell people publicly that you like Bakugo, people get really pissed because all they can focus on is the first couple of times he was in the manga, and they think that he's not, they want to see him punished for his behavior as a fucking teenager. And it's like, look, I know him telling Midoriya to kill himself was totally inappropriate and not acceptable. Everyone knows that. But over the course of the series, he has grown and changed and shown a lot of development. I think that's interesting. Nobody thinks that nobody inside the series or outside the series thinks that Bakugo is a good guy. But they also recognize that he is, I think it's important to recognize that he wants to be a hero for good reasons. He looked towards All Might. He admired All Might for good reasons. He's trying to do the right thing. He's just a shitty kid. He's a real asshole. And that's why and that's why I love his relationship with Deku. Oh my god, that is, I'm gonna be really fucking honest with you, better than Goku and Vegeta ever were.
Yep. I said that in a review of the movie, and I think I've mentioned it pretty much any time we talk about My Hero. I believe that Deku and Bakugo are just a more refined version of what Goku and Vegeta's relationship is. That friendly rivalry where they both respect each other's power and they both want to grow more powerful than the other. As soon as one gets ahead, the other one's like, oh, fuck you. I'm going to get that much better. I'm going to kick your ass with that power that doesn't belong to you, asshole. My power's going to be even better.
Yeah. And one of the really cool and interesting parts is that Bakugo keeps winning their fights.
Mm-hmm.
Bakugo, as far as we know, is more capable than Deku.
There's a really good reason for that. He's had his entire life to refine his quirk, and to this day, Midoriya is still learning how to make One for All his own.
Yeah.
He's still learning even the basics of it. Right now, he can push himself and stretch it to 20%.
Yeah. And that's why... And so you see these two characters growing beside each other, actually wanting to, they want each other to get better because they know it's only going to make them better. And that's great. It's fantastic. And, I like Bakugo, and I know he's a dick. I know he's a little shit.
Yeah, but he's a bossy little shit still, but he has his reasons. I mean, I love the moments where him being a dick is the right answer. Like in the hero exam, when the testers were walking up to him, just being like, "Hey, can you help us? We're hurt." It's like, "Fuck you! Go find yourself." It's like, well, I mean, he's right. We are just like the ones that are supposed to be wasting your time, but you could have said it better. Fuck you!
And that's the interesting thing. He makes the right decision, but that's Bakugo in a fucking nutshell. He makes the right decisions, but he does them poorly because his personality sucks. And that's the cool thing. That's why I love Bakugo.
Like he wants to play the drums in the band, but not because, it'll make everybody happy, because he wants to show everybody that they're fucking right.
Yeah. The fact that he uses that moment where he was kidnapped and is like, no, we inconvenience these people. They don't like us for good reason. So let's fuck them up. I'm like, yeah.
We're gonna fuck them up with sound. Kill them with our sound.
Yes, and I love that shit. I dig on that shit. He's and
I liked the school festival arc far more than I thought I was going to.
Oh yeah, dude, the fucking school festival arc / gentle arc is better than the arc that preceded it, which is this really big dramatic arc with all these important character moments.
Dude, the moment Eddie cracked her smile, I was bawling. I'm like, oh, she can smile.
Yeah, and God, hell, the moment where Deku walks up to her after and she starts just going on about stuff, and Deku can't fucking hold it back. He's already about to cry. Like, Deku got
he did it.
What he needed. He won.
He saved her.
Yes.
It's what the hell?
What? What's wrong?
Sorry, something just started ringing. 1 second. That was weird. Gonna have to cut that out of the podcast or something. I don't know. One of my notifications on my computer started going off there.
Huh.
But to lead into that, my favorite hero, my favorite character in My Hero is actually Mirio.
Okay.
I
can see that.
I love, like, first of all, he's a Star Wars buff, but then again, so's the mangaka. So, but just his overall attitude, his positivity. I when dealing with a lot of negativity in my life, watching some of those episodes where he's dealing with some of like the hardest shit he's ever had to go through, he really is just the perfect Deku. Like, he is Deku, but better. Like, Night Eye was basically implying the whole time.
Yeah. Oh.
So I'm watching through this stuff where he's like, he's brought down to his like lowest that he's ever been, and he's still being positive. Still like, yeah, nope, I'm just gonna keep refining what I have right now, because that way, as soon as I'm, back up in fighting shape, I'll be even stronger. And I don't know, like, just it was inspiring in a time when I really needed it. So that really secured him as my favorite.
Yeah, Mirio's top tier.
He's man, I don't know how much I could like really go on and on about him, but I decided, you know what, be like Mirio. If you want to be a good person, be like Mirio. He is fantastic. Plus his power is awesome, and I love the way that they when they introduce his power and like show it off by like beating the shit out of the entire class, they look at him as like, wow, he's so lucky to have that, and they're like, no, you don't get it. That power, that thing is a fucking curse. Like, he had to work really hard in order to get that to work, because when he's using it, he can't see, he can't feel, he can't hear, he can't breathe. So you do that power wrong, and you're fucked.
Yeah, I don't even want to imagine, like, that power going really wrong.
Mm-hmm. Like, the scene of him in high school when he's, like, trying to push himself through a board, and everybody's just, like, laughing at him, and he's able to laugh at himself, which is really important. He's able to laugh at himself and just look at everybody, hey, but you know what? If you ever tried it, I bet it's 1 billion times harder than you think, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's great. He just has such a great mentality about him that I find it inspiring, which sounds weird as a 30-year-old man looking at a children's cartoon. But I also think that's what really draws people to shonen anime, that idea that we can always better ourselves, I mean, that is push it to the next level.
That is the whole point of shonen. It is supposed to be the burning spirit. It's supposed to be something that fills you with this drive to improve yourself. That's kind of the whole driving force behind shonen comics in general.
Kaizen is the term, I believe, in Japanese, that strive for everlasting improvement. I believe, does that translate to the God within?
I have no idea, actually.
Something like that. Something like that.
Because
that's my favorite character. As for who's underutilized, oh man, I don't know. I mean, there are certainly a lot of characters that are underutilized, but the thing about My Hero is even those characters you believe are underutilized, they'll probably get their own arc. Like there are characters that I've really, really liked, or like characters that I didn't even care about, like at all. But then they get like a series of like a few episodes where you get to know them a bit better and you get to see their struggle. And it's like, damn, this show's really good at getting you to like these people.
I didn't think I'd ever actually like Aoyama.
Yeah. I thought he was just a gag character like some of the other ones in the class.
I will say, Ochako has been fucked for so long. Like, she's one of those characters who got a bunch of stuff early on, but otherwise, like, and if I don't think anybody would have minded so much if oh god, oh shit, I'm forgetting the mangaka's name.
You're asking the wrong guy, most certainly.
Yeah. If the mangaka hadn't gone out of his way to establish her as the romantic interest of the lead, I don't think anybody would care so much that Horikoshi, thank you. She's supposed to be framed by the narrative, an important character to the main character, but the narrative never wants to use her in any important ways. Like, she has done some cool things, but she just never feels that interesting or important, and that sucks.
She hasn't had her Sakura in Shippuden moment yet. Like the puppet fight battle. She hasn't had that moment yet for herself. She's had shades of that moment in like I think the best moment she's had so far is her match in the tournament against Bakugo. When she's holding her own against this dude that way outclasses her power-wise.
Yeah. Also, and she does something cool during the overhaul arc. But yeah. she needs a real shining cool moment, and I don't think she's gonna get that.
Yeah, she's unfortunately a supporting role right now, and I do think she will get that moment that I'm a badass, look at me do this shit moment.
I don't even need her to be a badass. I just need her to be an actual like interesting character who contributes. Because that's kind of the problem I find with her.
But I guess, yeah, the overall problem with Ochako is that she doesn't really have a lot going on for her beside being the romantic lead.
Yeah.
Because Yaoyorozu, she has her brains. She's incredibly smart and creative, which works very well with her quirk. Yeah, all Ochako has is her cutesy design and like waifu mentality about her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm willing to bet that the further we go on, like, the more she'll get, because she's been showing hints of like, you know, I gotta keep pushing myself too. I gotta grow as well, and no doubt she will. Do you think in My Hero that we'll get that Shippuden moment? We'll get that time skip moment?
I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but the manga looks like it might be hurling towards a conclusion.
Oh, well, actually, you know what? I'd really appreciate that. I like contained stories.
I say might because there's a kind of a thing happening right now that kind of feels like Endgame. But then again, who knows? Like, who knows if Horikoshi is going to be like, after this is going to be like, all right, next thing. Who knows? Could be.
I mean, it's making a fuck ton of money for them, I'm betting. So the odds are the editors wouldn't want to end it anytime soon, but I have great appreciation for a show that will nut up and tell the story it wants to tell and not fuck around.
I have to agree 100%. There's nothing I love more than a self-contained fucking story. A lot of people, God, I've had arguments with people who are like, man, no, I want to see this go on and continue and grow. And I'm like, no, fuck that shit. Like, sure, if something has the legs for it, I'll respect it. But man, I like a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's nothing I love more than being able to just consume a whole story.
Yeah, there's a show that was mercifully short that I binged last week as I was working on some stuff.
Huh?
I binged through Parasite the Maxim.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it dropped on Netflix, and I'm like, you know what? I heard about this when it was coming out, never took the time to watch it, always assumed it was longer than it was. It's only 24 episodes, and it tells its story. And even that, I feel like, is just a little bit dragged out to hit that 24-episode mark. But the pacing, my God, the pacing is so much better than shows that drag themselves to death.
And wasn't it, oh my God, it is great being able to see the growth, like the full growth of the main character. Just watching him develop until the end was fantastic.
It was I mean, there's obviously a huge twist on it, but it felt a lot like the story between Naruto and Kurama, just paced a lot quicker.
Yeah.
For those that haven't seen it, it's good. It's 24 episodes. It's on Netflix. Definitely worth a watch. If you like weird, violent shows.
What's the next question?
Oh, yeah, sure. I guess I can do that. Speaking of, we're talking about shows here. If copyright were not an issue, like, if somehow it all just disappeared overnight.
Good Lord.
What would you, like, what other series would you maybe want to parody if you had to choose one?
That's actually a really big question.
I know what I'd do. If it weren't an editing nightmare, I'd say the Clone Wars, like the CG Clone Wars.
Oh my God.
That would be a nightmare. So I would refine that and say the Gendy Clone Wars.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Dude, I love Star Wars. I could make Star Wars jokes all fucking day.
I can see that. It's really tough for me because I feel like there are a lot of different shows out there. Like, Dragon Ball made sense for me. It was that show that I grew up with. I have so much love for it, and I really got to express all of that love, every single drop of it over the course of 60 episodes. Actually, really 70 episodes. Several specials, several movies. I don't think I have that kind of love for anything else, to be honest. When it comes to media.
It's hard to build that kind of love because as you get older, like nostalgia, you go back to it because it's something that made a huge impact on you very early on. To have something else like that crop up on you out of nowhere is so rare and difficult because you already have so many other things in your little fandom heart.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's why if I were to do a parody of anything else, I don't think I would go for something that I love. I don't think there's anything out there that I could do the justice that I did Dragon Ball. I think if I were to do something, I would find something really obscure, and then make a new, basically, I want a C-Lab 2020 something. I want a C-Lab 2020 something really, really hard. Just basically make it almost a brand new show if I could.
I'm certain more and more things are starting to get into the public domain. Unfortunately, it's going to be a hot minute till anything in color does.
Yeah.
Stupid copyright laws. Not to mention there's weird international stuff with all that too.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to say. So you can't even come up with something that you would I
mean, I could see doing individual parodies. I would love to do one-shots. God knows that if I could do the X minutes with the actual footage, oh boy, that'd be a lot of fun.
Unfortunately, copyright is a thing.
Yes, it is a real bitch. But yeah, I wish I could just tackle a bunch of different shows with little bits. Because animation is expensive and time-consuming and labor-intensive.
As we have found out.
Yes, as we are finding out all of the time. I will say
every moment.
I will say, speaking of animated parodies, I'm not going to say what, and I'm not going to say when, but we got something coming out real soon that I'm psyched about.
Ooh, vague.
Yes. In fact, I think I can at least say what the anime it's parodying.
I'm not going to stop you.
If any of you guys are fans of Haikyuu, you will either love or hate the thing we have coming out soon. That's all I gotta say.
I've seen clips of it. It's funny. As somebody who's never seen Haikyuu, I like it.
It's almost better if you haven't.
It's probably better if you haven't. I don't know. I can't speak from the perspective of either. Or from the other perspective, I should say.
Someone said Beastars are British. You know what? I would absolutely love to do something with Beastars. As you can tell, I made an entire video of me just memeing on Beastars. So if I could make just, I don't know, a meme, a fucking comic based around Beastars, I probably would.
What was it that drew, like, I mean, other than being a furry, what was it that, like, drew you into Beastars?
I really dig on the character interactions. I dig on how these characters develop. There's, you know what? It's really the characters. It's 100% the characters. I love Legoshi. I love Haru. I love Louis. Louis one of my favorite characters in all of manga right now. Fucking Jack's adorable. And there's some stuff later that happens that I can't even talk about. I'm just gonna say there's a guy named after fruit, and he's pretty fucking fantastic.
I've heard the series goes nowhere near where you expect it to from here.
I feel like Paru Itagaki keeps wanting to like change things radically every 50 chapters. Like not to the point where you feel like you're in a complete genre shift or anything, but like, yeah, she always keeps it fresh. She also writes bullshit endings to some of the to some of her like more dramatic moments, but you feel like she does it on purpose.
Right.
Like at some point you're like, okay, you did that on purpose, Pato. You set that up specifically to disappoint us. And I kind of dig on it.
That's actually kind of an interesting thing to say there, because there are so many bits of media out there where they go completely in a different direction from where you're expecting, and it just angers everybody.
You know, I know some people who struggle with Hunter x Hunter for that.
I guess I could see that. I don't know. Everybody
Hunter x Hunter
here
is the master.
I fucking love Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, but it's the master of the anticlimax.
Oh, it really is. The biggest example I could probably think of, or at least the one of the examples I can think of off the top of my head, is Heaven's Tower, when they're going up there. It's like, okay, so what happens after we beat these floor bosses? Well, then you can own a floor of your own, and you get a chance to go fight in the Grand Championship at the Master Arena, where you can be called King of all fighters. Fuck it, and they just leave.
Right?
I just want to punch Hisoka. Do you not care? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, no, they come in there, they fuck up Heaven's Tower, and then they're like, okay, we got what we wanted, we out, later.
We don't care anymore, bye.
Yup. Hunter x Hunter is my favorite. If you want to talk about a subversive shonen, the Hunter x Hunter is way up there. It's also one of the reasons I kind of like Beastars. It always, Pato's like, things got too comfortable. Here's just a fucking fastball, like a curveball out of nowhere. That's what Pato does in Beastars. That's why I love it.
You inject bits of drama without it being like it comes out of nowhere, but it's not like it's not completely game changing. And when it is, it makes sense. Unlike, and here I go again, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which.
Okay, I got a question for you. A question
okay.
I gotta ask, because I don't know if I've gotten this answer out of you.
Okay.
Which one's better? The prequels or the sequels?
Oh Lord. I honestly, like, and this is a struggle. This is a question that I've actually kind of struggled with. I had to think on it, and for one very specific reason, I have to go prequels.
Okay.
Like, not that I think that any of those movies are a shining example of a good movie. I enjoy the third one. I enjoy parts of the first one. Hell, the climax of the second one, even though I think it's arguably one of the worst Star Wars movies ever made, I can still enjoy the climax of that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the sequel trilogy, by not having any sort of overarching plans going into it, was ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt everybody involved, I think. because there was so much hope for it. I mean, I know there was a lot of hope for the prequels when they first came out, but at least the prequels were doing something different. They were telling a different story. As bad as you might think that story is, it was doing something. Whereas the sequels, as much as I loved The Force Awakens, going back and rewatching it several years later after all this is said and done, it's hollow. It's a pretty hollow movie.
I wasn't.
Its wink at the camera moments are far too pronounced in hindsight.
Rogue One was better than the sequels altogether.
I don't know about that specifically, but I will say I enjoyed Rogue One. I did. I don't know about it being better than all of them. And it's weird to say, and people are going to hate on me for this, but I do think The Last Jedi is the strongest of the sequels because, one, it is doing something different. Even if its B-plot is trash, garbage, and pointless, it's doing something different. If it had been an hour-and-a-half movie that simply focused on the Rey-Kylo thing, it would have been a lot better.
Yes. Oh my God. Rey and Kylo and fucking Luke. And Luke. And if you want, and honestly, keep Finn and Poe together. Jesus, they had Rian Johnson. You had one job. Okay, you had a billion jobs, but. Seriously, why would you split those two up? They had so much chemistry in the first one. Enough to where the actor for Poe was like, yeah, no, they should hook up. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you splitting them? And who the fuck is Rose? Like, I like the actress. I even like Rose Tico as a character. She shouldn't have been in this movie. She's so pointless.
She had such a weird arc. She was there to teach Finn that fighting for the Resistance mattered and that we need to fight for those we care about, but wasn't that what he learned in the first one?
Kind of, yeah.
Like that's the biggest problem and the biggest disservice they did to anybody was to John Boyega as Finn. He got massacred in every script.
I'll say when it comes to which one's better, the sequels or the prequels, in terms of what is overall a better movie, I'd say that Last Jedi is better than any of the prequels in terms of just being an altogether better movie.
I mean, yeah, as far as like being technically made, being like having decent dialogue in places. Fuck it, never mind. It's all better than George Lucas's scripts. But
yeah. And direction.
Yes. Lucas filmed it like it was a super high budget television show.
But that being said, the plot sucks. Whoo boy does the plot of the sequels it ends up sucking. It ends up being really bad.
And it all comes down to fucking The Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
Which is the only Star Wars movie that I saw and have actually soured on over time. Every other Star Wars movie I've come to appreciate parts of. Rise of Skywalker, I came out appreciating parts and have gone back to thinking, man, that just did not, no, bad, ugh.
Oh man, that was a movie that only got me angrier and angrier and angrier the more I thought about it. God damn.
Like, at this point, it's come out on Disney Plus. It's been out for a minute. I haven't even considered going back to watching it.
Oh, no.
I legitimately might watch Attack of the Clones over that. But
yeah.
Luckily, nobody's ever going to hold a gun to my head and force me, so... It hurts, because I still love Star Wars. It's not even about the movies, like most of the fans. It's not about the movies. It's about the setting. It's about the universe. It's about the lore. Because that's what fandom turns into over time. It's not necessarily about each of the individual pieces of media. It's about the world.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Star Wars.
Let's see if we can get one or two more questions in, because I feel like we just had a huge side.
I mean, it happens. It happens. Speaking of writing and directing, though, this one from Ben McKenzie over on Patreon. If you could work with any writer/director, living or dead, who would you pick and for what kind of project?
Oh, fuck me. Edgar Wright.
Oh my God, we had the same answer.
Of course we had the same answer. Edgar Wright's one of the best directors in Hollywood.
He's fucking amazing. Of course, it needs to be an action comedy.
Yep.
But every single movie that he's put out, including Baby Driver, which is underappreciated and kind of marred by the inclusion of one actor, is still fantastic. Like, his work, his timing. The fucking opening credit sequence in Baby Driver is amazing. The way he's able to time out those music cues to what's going on screen is awesome. It shows his background in shooting music videos.
Yep. I cannot tell you how much, guys, I can't tell you how much I love Edgar Wright. I can't. Like, Scott Pilgrim. Somebody asked me, what's your favorite movie? And Scott Pilgrim is not the best movie ever made. It's probably not even my favorite movie, but somehow every time anybody ever asks me what my favorite movie is, I think of the movie that I've literally seen 7 times all the way through. And I am not kidding when I say 7 times. I've seen Scott Pilgrim 7 times. I own the comics twice, once in black and white and once in color. I love that fucking movie.
Yep, and I mean, Scott Pilgrim was really good just in general. Byron Lee O'Malley made a really fun coming-of-age relationship tale.
Yeah.
And the best thing about Scott Pilgrim is, no matter which version of it you absorb, whether you're reading through the comics, which are vastly different from the movie, or watching the movie, they're both great.
I will say, I liked the progression of Scott's character better in the comic.
Well, of course, you get significantly more time.
Yeah. And in the movie, he kind of goes from being a shitbag to a decent guy, kind of literally in the course of a day. But that being said, that movie's fun as fuck.
Mm-hmm. It's so brilliantly stylized in a way that only Edgar Wright can.
Oh, right.
When you go back and if you go back and watch Ant-Man, you can tell where his fingers were. You can tell where he laid the groundwork, and it isn't quite there. If he had stayed on Ant-Man, it would have been a vastly different and superior movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm really, like, as much as I appreciate all the work that Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel, I appreciate all the work that they did to make an amazing, if not over-bloated and overly convoluted cinematic universe.
Something nobody had ever done before.
Never before. Fuck, man. Edgar Wright should have made the fucking Ant-Man movie. God damn it.
Yeah, that was back when, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's one guy that was given Kevin Feige all sorts of issues when it came to, like, making these things.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, they finally went around his bag and just said, okay, look, Kevin, you're in charge of the movies. This guy's only in charge of the comics from now on. There you go. So from that point forward, because that was back when they were losing directors left and right because of these big studio hiccups. And Feige finally went to him and was like, look, this guy's fucking everything up right now. Like, these movies are still getting made, but it's not the same. Yeah, Perlmutter. Perlmutter was his name.
Perlmutter. What the hell name is that?
I don't know. Like, that's the name that's popping up in chat. But he was, he was wrecking shit left and right. This was when, like, I don't know. It was in, let's call it the Bronze Age of the movies.
Wait a second, was he one of the guys responsible for, since Disney didn't own, the God, I think there was something that happened where...
Yeah, he was responsible for cutting the X-Men out of the comics and replacing them with the Inhumans.
Oh my God.
He was given control to make the Inhumans projects, because he's still in charge of the TV efforts, I believe. And then Inhumans was trying to be like Game of Thrones, but with absolutely no budget because this guy's notoriously cheap.
Ooh.
And it's out. It's out there. There's a season of this show, and it's absolutely awful.
Mm.
You can go and watch it. The queen of the Inhumans, her big thing is that she has this prehensile long red hair. And they cut it off in the first episode.
Wait a second.
That's her thing in the comics.
I remember seeing the pictures from that. It looked awful. Mm-hmm. It looked really bad.
Because the guy was cheap, he didn't want to spring for, like, good shit, so they just had this really shitty stand-in wig, and it's like, we'll just cut off the hair so we don't need to worry about it. When that's the character's thing. Their power is their hair. They can turn them into, like, blades. They can, like, rip things apart with, like, that's their thing.
Wow.
Fucked it up.
Okay.
Considering the king of the Inhumans can't use his power without blowing up planets. Because I believe his power is he's kind of like Black Canary. And in fact, I think his name is like Black something, but I can't remember.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about,
his power is that, you know, he can make big sounds with his mouth that are literally capable of... Black Bolt. Capable of shattering reality.
Yeah, I remember he's one of those guys that even a whisper will destroy, like, a city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can create a hurricane just by whispering something. It's fucked up. Yeah, that show sucked. It failed hard. And the teleporting dog was underutilized, which was the best part of the show.
Teleporting dog? Oh, how could it have been bad?
He was a good boy. Big good boy.
Oh. One more question. I think we got time for one more.
Sure thing. Speaking of shows and stuff, what do you like when it comes to like long running series and things like that? How do you get into them? Like, this person's having issues getting into anything that's like longer than 5 seasons because of significant, like the time that you have to put into something like that.
Well, for me, the only way that I was actually able to watch Parks and Recreation after being told over and over to watch Parks and Recreation was I started putting it on while I was doing my workouts. Because I have trouble existing. I've got like ADHD and anxiety. So
you have trouble being in the moment.
Yeah. And I've had people who are like, oh man, you know, running and working out, that puts you in this great headspace. And I'm like, no, give me some music. Give me a fucking show. I need something to like keep my mind occupied while I'm doing this.
Oh God, anybody that runs without any form of distraction, they're probably psychotic.
I know somebody. And they just focus on the run, and it puts them in this kind of like meditative state. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, no, absolutely not. I once went to the gym.
I will ask very gently, how many people have they killed? You're not allowed to say. That's fine.
I went to the gym once without my headphones, and I bought new headphones at the gym. Because I was like, I am not going to go back home, but I am not going to run without music or something to watch.
Yeah. Like, I'll sometimes, like, when the weather's nice, like, it is, when I get up in the morning at, like, 7 or so, it's not hot as balls outside yet. Sometimes I'll take the run outside. So I'll like pop on my headphones because I need to be listening to something because the music pumps you up. It gets you going. It's like, yeah, this is what's pushing me. I'm running to the rhythm here. I can't run for running's sake. I just cannot. But when I'm at home and I need to use like the treadmill, let's say the weather's shitty, I'll just put something on the television. And yeah, that's a good way to start getting into these types of shows like that. But I'll typically put something on in the background while I'm working. I absorb a lot of media. I'm a goddamn media sponge. Just during this quarantine, I think I've watched through, God, I don't know, probably almost 10 shows by now.
I watched literally all of Haikyuu when I got sick not too long ago. I was just like, fuck this shit. Put on Haikyuu and watched all that.
Yeah, sometimes you can get into binge mode.
Yeah.
Like, most recently, actually, no, it's not even the most recent thing I finished anymore, but I recently watched through The Wire, finally got all the way through that, really dug it, good shit, very well written, almost from start to finish, and then I recently sat down and rewatched Avatar, because Netflix got that on there.
Oh, fuck, yes!
You want to talk about some of the best characters in all of fiction? Uncle Iroh.
There are motherfuckers out there who think Korra's better, and I'm like, no, you're wrong, no.
I would never say Korra's better. There are certain scenes in it that are like really cool. Like Korra has some awesome fight scenes and shit like that.
Stupid fight scenes, yeah, like holy shit.
Korra is great with action. But Avatar: The Last Airbender, from start to finish, it is a masterful show.
Yeah. I cannot, like, I had a friend of mine who could not get into Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm like, dude, you watched all of okay, watched most and then read the rest of Naruto, watch Avatar. And finally, last year, he finally watched all of Avatar and is like, I cried 3 times in this show. What the hell? And I'm like, yeah, no, man. Like, Avatar The Last Airbender is better than most anime. It's easily one of the best animated series of all time. Yep. It is fucking great.
Hands down. And it's, like, barring maybe 2 or 3 episodes, very well paced. The Great Divide, which they even kind of lampshade and poke fun at in one episode.
Oh, yeah.
Is probably the weakest episode, arguably.
Yes. No, there are weak episodes. There are some episodes of the show that aren't great. But
yeah, like even some of its like filler episodes, which it's hard to argue like what could be considered filler in that show, are great.
There are definitely a couple of episodes where it's like, if that had never happened, I don't think we would have lost much, but okay.
They're always pretty good at least throwing in a hint of the plot in a lot of these episodes, though.
Yeah. Like Painted Lady. Painted Lady is an episode that I could skip every time, but I'm glad at least I saw it the first time, because it helps give you an idea of the, like, it helps ingrain you, it helps you get to meet and understand more of the people of the Fire Nation, which I think was important. I think that was a very good thing to do. Like, hey, so you want to hate the Fire Nation for what their military and their government has done. Don't do that. Do not hate the people of a nation because their government and their military is fucked. People are people.
Which is a great lesson, especially to show, like, to children on Nickelodeon, because back then, like, I think the Second Gulf War was going on. And there's like a lot of, like, the War on Terror was definitely booming back then. And there's a lot of brash generalizations that go on during that time where people are like buying into the propaganda, us versus them. But realizing that, you know, even though the people in charge are, you know, fighting, the general people, like anybody that's not in the military, are all innocent in all of this. Like, they don't have a say in it. And they're all just trying to live their lives. And that's one of many beautiful lessons you can take from Avatar The Last Airbender. And with that, I feel like we've just about tapped these questions that we pulled here. So thank you for joining me here this week, Kaiser. Good having you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank all of you out there for listening, either on your podcast destination, Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're finding your podcasts, or on YouTube, which again, I will go ahead and kindly ask you to leave a like. And here's a second reminder to leave that like. And we will catch you guys next time on the Talkcast Podshow. Stay safe and healthy, everybody. Peace out.
Adios, everyone. Bye.